You unlock this door. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You've just crossed over into
common sense zone.
Are you kidding? Shoot, that would be. You can see the power of the union with the bailouts with GM and Chrysler right now. I mean, they're not really conceding much at all.
So again, it's about giving schools back local control and giving parents and local communities and states the freedom to allow parents to have freedom of choice in how they educate their children based around a common sense set of values that I think we've had since the time of the Puritans, and that certainly has been massaged and expanded and has grown to what we have today, which is still a pretty civilized society, as long as we make sure we hold people accountable.
Okay.
Because then you're branching on anarchy. So
I'm pretty sure I don't need to ask this question, but here we go with the evil gun control laws. Do you believe, a couple of things, do you believe guns should ever be banned? Do they need to be registered by everyone? And should concealed carry permits by individuals be given out more freely? If so, who gets them? So three-part question, I guess.
Well, let's start with repealing and pushing back. Yes, there's no such thing as an assault weapon. I do think it's prudent. I think it's been a prudent step that, automatic weapons have been proven to be very deadly in the wrong hands, and monitoring those carefully is probably prudent. And hunters and any other sportsmen agree that if you follow the rules, you can still enjoy that sport, although you do have to jump through hoops. Concealed carry, look, that's unconstitutional. It's a whole other battle, and I'm seeing some repealing of that and movement toward that, and certainly I would be behind repealing that. Look, if I've got the right to carry openly, as I do right here in Scottsdale, Arizona, anywhere where it's not marked, then I certainly should have the same right. It's just nonsense to say that I have to have a special permit and pay a tax, to assure somebody that I know actually how to carry a gun in my pants, rather than openly outside my pants. I just, so I'm against that, and certainly would work towards repealing the laws and peeling them back and holding back. That's what we need to do more than anything. Stop what's going on and pushing back and saying no, just like the national parks issue. My goodness, the fact that you can't have a firearm in a national park is absurd.
That's insane. That is insane. If you need a gun on you ever, it's in the national park, because you got animals out there. You could have rapists. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're hiking. I mean, but anyway.
Yeah,
that's something that I definitely do not like.
That's a whole other hour.
Another
hour discussion just on Second Amendment issues.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm going to say, and already I'm going to say something that's interesting, phenomena that again I was expecting and actually proud of, because it's going to help me expose sort of what we've become as a nation and what we've become as a party, a two-party system. I'm getting criticism already that I'm not a lifelong member of the NRA. And I chose not to, because I choose not to buy into a lobby that oftentimes should be there anyway, and that I lobby for myself in that sense, and would always lobby for. I do support the NRA, and I support other Second Amendment groups and all of our state groups, and I'm a very vocal, outspoken advocate for that. But being organizations, people are already criticizing you about that's sort of not. That's not acceptable credentials for being, accepted as into the party. In fact, right now, Rob, I've got some people, honestly, that have approached me with the attitude of, well, who gave you permission to challenge John McCain as a Republican? Because you didn't ask. You didn't ask the machine whether we wanted you to challenge him or not. And and so that's great. That's exactly what I want them to say. That's exactly part of the purpose here. Since when did this become a job for life, and that your party is going to sit there and protect you for life? What happened to the people actually have a representative voice in Washington?
And So you obviously are against the registration or the registration of ammo, where they're going to try to code all the ammunition. I mean, I think that's just to see who's buying it. I would like stricter gun laws, but again, that should be left to localities rather than federal government. But
well, it's a shame that the businessmen in many industries now, and that's been an argument with the illegal immigration system, where employers say, well, I don't want to become an immigration officer. Well, you know what? Your government puts you in that situation, and it's due diligence on your part to get involved with it and to show a little bit of sensitivity towards it, because in the name of national security, for your own interests. And it's the same way with gun owners. Just pay attention to who you're selling guns to, and when you have a bad feeling, take it to the next level and report things. And it just takes everyone to keeping a little closer eye on each other. And it's unfortunate that people use weapons to express their frustrations in life. And that's just always going to be, I guess, a cost of freedom in this country.
And how do you feel about the current interpretation of separation of church and state? And what I mean by that is they've basically gone to the point of where they're anti-religion rather than, the writings of the Founding Fathers had God and our Father and all that everywhere in it, and prayers were constantly said, and it's just been recently, within the last 100 years, that they've turned it where any support, such as I know you want to get government out of education, but you can't even get any funding to Catholic schools or Lutheran universities or anything like that. How do you feel about that? Are they a little bit too strict with their separation of church and state, or do you feel comfortable with the way it is right now?
Hey, look, you've got to look at any program where the government has entered into an agreement to say, I'm going to give you a break on taxes, or I'm going to tax you more. That again that's oppression, and that's the oppression of from the federal government being involved in social issues and our freedom of choice. And that's how they kind of turn the screws on it at times. So we need to take a look at that and say, our government, again, I would vote no and actually work to repeal anything that would support any social organization with government dollars, or with even giving them the concept of a tax break means that I'm taxing you for your beliefs. And that's wrong. And we need to get government out of that.
How about flat tax? Because money is power, and that's basically why they keep getting more of our money, because they can control us. And it sounds like you're onto that little trick. So a flat tax kind of removes that, because at that point they only get a set amount of money no matter who it's coming from. It's flat, so you can't really buy votes. Are you for any sort of flat tax, or do you like the graduated system they have now?
Well, it all continues. All it does is continue to support an upside-down system that will continue to proliferate forever the way it is if we don't take it and flip it around. Let's take a look at exactly what the federal government's job is. Find out where they're doing those jobs. Build the budget that way. Which you start from national security, you start from border security, you start from the infrastructure that we have to support, and you build backwards until you find out, well, wait a minute, we really don't need this. And start cutting that budget and eliminating those programs, and that's how you balance a budget. And so that's where you make projections, and then you tax the people only on what is necessary.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.